In this video, we will explore the basics of understanding the conservation easement for the property owned by the Congregation of Sisters of St. Agnes. Let's start by answering the question, what is a conservation easement? A conservation easement is a voluntary legal agreement that permanently limits uses of the land in order to protect its conservation values. Let's break that apart. A conservation easement is a voluntary legal agreement that permanently limits uses of the land. Think of a conservation easement as a living will, a will specifically and voluntarily created for land by the current owners of the property. Unlike a human's living will, this living will for the land is irrevocable. It can't be modified or dissolved if it becomes inconvenient. A conservation easement permanently limits uses of the land in order to protect its conservation values. The land's living will is designed to act as a shield to protect it from future changes that would make it less valuable to all the creatures that use it, not just the humans. A shield that stays in place and cannot be modified or dissolved, regardless of who owns the property for all of the rest of time. This protective, irrevocable living will for land is called a conservation easement. Just like a human will designates someone to ensure that the will is carried out properly, conservation easements have designated advocates. These advocates are called easement holders. The easement holders raise the shield up whenever a threat to the property arises. They don't own the land. They ensure that the conservation easement is upheld no matter who owns the land. For example, if a property owner hires a landscaping company to cut down a grove of trees on the property, the easement holder must first be consulted to review whether the landscaping changes are in line with the conservation easement stipulations. If it violates the easement, then the landscaping is not allowed. If the landowner cuts down the trees anyway, the easement holder takes them to court to determine how to restore the conservation value of the property. Again, easement holders are tasked with enforcing the conservation easement to protect the land for all of time, regardless of who owns the property. Let's put this in terms of the Congregation of Sisters of St. Agnes. The congregation owns and maintains 237 acres of land. In 2022, CSA entered into a voluntary legal agreement to permanently limit the use of the land in order to protect its conservation values, a conservation easement. The conservation easement holder is Glacial Lakes Conservancy. When the congregation wants to make changes to the property, they must comply with the terms of the conservation easement. Glacial Lakes Conservancy reviews any major changes before they're implemented. When approval is granted, the congregation does the work. The congregation continues to own and manage the property. As advocates for the land, GLC ensures that CSA continues to uphold the terms of the easement. Each year, representatives from GLC visit the property to monitor it for changes that could make it less valuable for all the creatures that use it, not just the humans. They also provide legal support when an external entity threatens the property. CSA has a great relationship with GLC. Representatives from both organizations communicate regularly to confirm accurate interpretation of the easement and to guarantee that all notices, approvals, denials, interpretations, and the exercise of any significant permitted rights are maintained in a permanent record for the land. So let's review the role of CSA and the role of GLC. As property owner, the congregation maintains and manages the land, but must follow the rules of the conservation easement that they voluntarily placed on the land whenever there is a potential change to the property. As easement holder, Glacial Lakes Conservancy must monitor the property for changes that would violate the terms of the conservation easement and could make it less valuable to all the creatures that use it. Together, CSA and GLC live out CSA's commitment to care for Earth, home of all living creatures.